Thanks, Rachel. Hi, everybody. Happy International Women's Day. And of course, how appropriate is it that the theme this year is Embrace Equity, and we're talking about barriers, specifically really barriers to finance today. So I'll explain what I do with the Single Mums Business Network in terms of support as we go through. I would try and stick to my 10 minutes exactly. I have a big unicorn clock in front of me that I borrowed from my daughter. And we have snow in the background because I am in Monmouth and it's snowing here, so please enjoy that while I'm speaking. So what I want to do first of all is look at where does it begin? Where do the barriers begin? Now, for me personally, I had a very, very strong career history. I worked for 20 years solid before I became a mum. My money was my business, apart from the tax man. I had complete autonomy and I had enough coming in to cover the outgoings. And I didn't really have any barriers. I had complete freedom to work extra hours if I needed more money. And it wasn't unusual for me to take an evening or weekend job if I needed to increase my income. So then what we have then, the first barrier that we experience is barriers to work when we become primary carers. Now, whether that's caring for our children, whether that's male or female, or whether that's caring for a relative. Or if you have an illness that inhibits your ability to continue to work full time. When you face barriers to work, what you do is you embark on a journey where you need to ask for support. I never worried about where my tax was going when I was always paying tax. I was quite happy that it would support people who were less able than me to earn their own income. And I didn't realise how inadequate at the time that support was. Now, Joseph Rowntree Foundation have just issued a brilliant comprehensive report which really explains that when you're in a situation where you need to access support, it's not actually adequate to cover your basic outgoings. So you end up in a negative income situation and you need to start borrowing to fill that gap, whether that's the gap for rent or getting by for food or just paying your basic bills. There are fantastic debt charities out there that can help you reduce credit borrowing. But actually, when it comes to your basic overheads, you need to find the money for those every single month. Now, of course, then when you face negative income and you start facing barriers to increasing your income, your credit score starts to be adversely affected. For me personally, this was through the loss of income, through the inability to continue the work that I was in. My home was repossessed, my credit score was adversely affected. And then I entered this world of this very expensive business of being poor, where you're met with fees and fines and higher APR, and all of these things that happen once you're seen as a risk. So there was a fantastic article recently, actually, Financial IT article that explains that 11 million women are denied access to mainstream products. And I've recently shared that. You can have a look at that in further detail at your leisure. So what we're looking at then, this is why I'm such a huge fan, by the way, of responsible finance, and this is why I connected with Rachel on Twitter and shared her stuff. I could see that she was helping people who face these barriers, and I'm a huge fan of responsible finance for that reason, because it's that more humane approach. Your credit scoring doesn't actually represent you, it represents what has happened to you. It represents your past and not your present. So credit scoring is a measure of what's happened. It's not a measure of you or your ethic or your ability to increase your earnings. So responsible finance is brilliant for this reason. There's lots of work to be done, and over the last couple of months I've met with a couple of mainstream banks and I've met with Experian to talk in more detail about these barriers that exist. And there's great work being done, so they are looking to more fairly measure your credit score by taking into consideration things like rent payments, Netflix subscriptions, responsible finance I know they're talking to as well, to measure those repayments, so that there's a more balanced measure of what you're actually paying, as well as what you may be struggling to pay. And then, of course, we need to look at the lenders themselves and where the cap is, because they have their own internal acceptance rates of the credit scoring. James explained to me that around 600 on your scores with Experian is where you're considered to be sort of 50-50, you could go either way. And this is where the lenders have their own opportunities to decide at what point they will accept you and what point they will decline you. So this is a serious barrier that needs addressing, because if you've experienced adversity, the last thing you need is to be locked into adversity. That's the last thing you need, especially when, you know, this is through barriers and not through what you're able to generate with support. For me personally, so I was kind of locked into these barriers to work, creating this reduced income. I was then locked into very low paid and low skilled work. So what we do then as women is we embark on this entrepreneurial journey. So when I know I'm very skilled, I know I've got a very strong work ethic, I'm perfectly happy to work 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 hours a week. But if I can't do that in the sanctuary of employment, with pension, holiday pay, sick pay, all of that, then I'm going to do that as an entrepreneur in self-employment, because I want to keep working, I want to keep earning money, I don't want to be reliant on support, and I want financial autonomy and health. So whereas by this point you've already had all of this adversity and you're locked out, you then, this is where responsible finance are at the moment, this lifeline that say, okay, we see you, we hear you, and we will support you to either grow your business or whatever it is that you need to do. So that is exactly what I did. I went to Purple Shoots, they offered me a loan regardless of the state of my credit score. So I continued A, with my confidence, B, with my transferable skills and upskilling, C, with growing, sustaining my business key products that I set up 10 years ago, and then creating a single mums business network to raise awareness of these issues and support other women. What that enabled me to do as a single mum now with a 10-year-old daughter, I do not need any support. I do not need any benefits. I pay tax again instead of having tax, you know, paid to me to sort of support me in these barriers to work. So that's a significant cost to the economy and a significant saving to the economy by taking a person and supporting them to be self-sufficient financially. That saves everybody, that saves every single taxpayer, and it's relevant to every man, woman and person who lives in the UK and pays tax in the UK. So we cannot embrace or celebrate or support these barriers continuing to exist. We need to release people from these barriers. So with the Single Mums Business Network, what I do is three things. One is, obviously, business is the alternative to employment. Actually, it's not the alternative to employment, it's the alternative to benefits when you really want to work. So I have these ladies, I get them, there's no stigma. I don't judge them. You know, we're single parents, we're proud of that, we're not ashamed of that. And so raising awareness of barriers to work, barriers to homes, barriers to finance, they are all very, very closely interlinked. So then creating affordable PR is essentially what I focus on then within the Single Mums Business Network. We publish a quarterly magazine, which is just distributed freely digitally and for a fee in print. And all of the members, included with their nominal fee, get increased exposure to their businesses through that magazine. We can all create free PR online. We can all, you know, engage on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. You know, we can do that free PR. But we all know our customer base are not always online. We still like magazines, we still like to see things in print. And when you face all these barriers and this adversity, advertising in the smallest magazine can be extremely expensive. So that's one of the ways I support my members, by including all of their businesses in that magazine for free, included in the membership, essentially. So it's a comradeship, it's fighting these barriers, it's offering hope. Over the years since I've set up the Single Mums Business Network, I have witnessed 5 or 6 first, second connection single parent suicides. And it's a very serious problem when you live with the absence of hope, and you live with judgment, and you live with feeling absolutely helpless to get out of a situation that you are very, very willing and able to get out of with the right support. So by signposting, responsible finance, etc., etc., you know, we're delivering a message of hope. We're delivering a message of please don't give up. Please don't think that this is the end. Please carry on through it. You know, and we're working behind the scenes all the time to say live on. You know, and as women in business, you know, we 100% need each other. International Women's Day, we absolutely need to get behind each other, to get behind this message, to reduce these barriers and to give every mother an opportunity for a good life with her child, whether she's in marriage or whether she's